Today we look at the actual movement of the pelvis. So last week was stability, this week is movement. It's important to understand that the health and the length of the spine comes from the action of the pelvis. The pelvis and the spine are connected. So if you lack movement in your pelvis, A, because you're tight on the hamstrings, or B, you're just not really aware, because how often do we really tilt the hips all the way forward and all the way back, right? This isn't a very common action to do. And so when we're mostly upright, the only time our hips even lightly change is if we're kind of sitting down and rounding the back. So as we learn to move the pelvis, here's what happens. If you go into a forward fold but don't have the conscious awareness to tilt your hips, then hips not moving, your spine is going to round. And you might think, oh, I'm so tight, I'll never touch my toes. That can be true because there may be tension on the hamstrings. However, if you bend your knees, release that tension on the hamstrings, then imagine your pelvis from the side profile, it's like a dial. As I turn the dial forward, the back of the tailbone lifts, the front of the hip points push forward and down, and as the pelvic tilt occurs, now all of a sudden I can drape my chest right on top of the thighs. So let's try that for a moment. Come into a halfway lift. Push your hands into your shins. As you push your palms into your shins, lightly pull up. Draw your shoulders back, bend your knees. As you bend your knees, pull your heels back and notice if you can feel the tailbone lift a little. Then press into the heels, contract your glutes, move the tailbone under. Inhale, move the tailbone back. Exhale, move the tailbone under. Inhale, move the tailbone back. Exhale, move the tailbone under. So it's a very similar sensation to cat-cow, but we're really just isolating this in the pelvis. Let's come up to standing. Hold on to your hips and imagine the pelvis just like a bowl filled with water. Hold the hips, bend your knees a little. Tilt your pelvis forward as if you're pouring water onto your toes. Notice how this creates a little bit of a back bend sensation in the lower spine if you go too far. Let's go the other way. Contract your glutes, press into your heels, tilt the pelvis back as if you're spilling water onto your ankles. As you go deeper into this, you'll start to feel rounding in the lower spine. Now, calibrate between those two positions, pouring water forward to the toes, pouring water back onto the heels, and as you calibrate that sensation, close your eyes. You see, the spine is an antenna, and every good antenna sends and receives information. And for your spine, it's sending and receiving from the brain down into the body, but it's also receiving feedback from the skin of your feet into your brain. So as you dial your pelvis, as you tune it, that's really what you're doing, is you're tuning the antenna of the spine. How do you know you're in the right alignment? Feel your feet. If you go out of alignment, your feet will just be a little duller. The sensational feedback gets a little blurry. As you go into both directions, can you dial the pelvis into a place where you feel most connected to the ground underneath you through the sensation of the feet? And keep playing with it. You know, the first time you do it, you're like, hey, maybe that's right. And then as time progresses, instead of making it about, I have to put my pelvis in this exact shape, instead, play with the action of the pelvis and notice the feeling of the spine, notice the feeling of the feet. Okay, so let's start off in standing. Separate the feet hip distance. Energetically, squeeze your heels or pull your heels away from each other and roll your inner thighs back. Inner thighs rolling back will facilitate the pelvic tilt forward. Heels pulling apart and pushing into the ground will facilitate the tailbone going under. We want to add those actions together so that we can stabilize the hips while tuning, finding that length in the lower spine. Okay, inhale, arms up, mountain pose. Exhale, hands come behind the head. Interlace your fingers, point your elbow tips forward. Press your head and your palms into one another. Put a little bend in your knees. Root into your heels. Contract your glutes, moving the tailbone under. Pour water onto the ankles lightly. Then inhale into your back bend. Now play with the angle of the pelvis. If you pour too far back, you might end up rounding the spine and throwing off your balance. So play with the action of tilting the pelvis backward and forward. Notice which position allows your spine to feel longest. Then lift the heart and go into the back bend. Inhale, reach your arms up. Exhale, sweep your arms wide or hold your hips forward fold. Bend your knees, tilt the pelvis forward. Imagine pouring water onto your toes. Inhale, halfway lift. Push off your shins. Pull lightly back. Swing the tailbone back. Exhale, crouch round and curl. Bring your fingertips to the mat. Bend your knees a lot. Lift your heels. Squeeze your arms into your legs. Squeeze your legs back into your arms. Breathe in. Stay for your exhale. Heels down. Inhale, rise. Mountain pose. Let's take it up. Exhale, imagine grabbing a pull-up bar. Pull that bar downwards. Feel your back muscles turn on. Brace your core. Inhale, back bend. As you enter the back bend, play with the angle of the pelvis. Inhale, rise. Mountain pose. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Think of the movement originating at the hips. Exhale, crouch round and curl. Heels down. Inhale, rise. Mountain pose. At the top, bring your palms together. Interlace your fingers. Release the index for steeple grip. Pull up on your shoulders. Pull up on your armpits. Brace your core. Front ribs, hip points to navel. Inhale, reach up and over to the right. This one, you can still hook the tailbone under and pull it back. Play with those two actions, noticing in what position do the hips actually facilitate the back into a round position or into a back bend. That will actually cause you to lose some of the length into these side bends. Come back through center, breathe in, then up and over to the left. As you go to the left, play with the angle of the pelvis. Feel your feet, feel the rooted connection to the ground. Use the stability of the hips, the angle of the hips to produce the length of your spine. Back through center, open the grip, grab the bar, exhale, pull down, brace your core. Inhale, back bend, start to lift your upper body back. Angle of the pelvis, feel the lower back, feel the heels. Inhale, mountain pose, reach up. Exhale, tilt your hips into your forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift, find length. Exhale, crouch round and curl. Heels down, inhale, rise, mountain pose. We just go breath to movement. Exhale, interlace the fingers, brace your core. Inhale to the right. Exhale to center. Feel your hips. Inhale to the left. Exhale to center, this time with steeple grip. Pull up on your armpits, brace your core. Inhale, start to reach your arms back. Elevate the arms, elevate the elbows. Open the arms, open the armpits, and reach. Breathe. Play with the angle of the hips. Feel the connection to your feet. Inhale, rise. Now, keep a straight line from your fingers all the way to your pelvis. You move the pelvis to move the spine to move the arms. Exhale, steeple forward fold. Bend your knees. Reach forward with your fingers. Keep tilting your hips. Keep reaching through the arms. Keep reaching through the spine. At the bottom, bend your knees enough that your chest is on your thighs. Scoop up your heels. All 10 fingers underneath the backs of the ankles. Shimmy your elbows behind your calves. Now wiggle for a second. Wiggle your thighs higher into your pelvis. Wiggle your rib cage lower to your thighs. Then pull with your arms. Flex your quads. Start to straighten the knees. Feel the sensation on the backs of the legs. Draw your shoulders back from your ears and lengthen the top of your head towards your toes. 2 cycles of breath. Full. Empty. Full. Empty. Release your heels. Take hands to steeple grip in front of your big toes. Start pulling with your arms first. Engage the length of the spine. Tilt from the pelvis. Inhale, rise all the way to standing. Exhale, release your arms down by your sides. Then reach your arms forward. Separate your feet hip distance. Look down. Make sure your big toes are pointing slightly in so the knees are in line with the middle toes. Lock your eyes on something out in front of you. Soften your gaze, inhale. Exhale, bend your knees, start to sit. As you sit down, pull your feet energetically away from each other. As you get lower into your pose, engage your mantra. As you breathe consciously, what word best describes the energy you want to feel? Powerful, strong, happy, joyful, whatever it might be. Use it as a mantra. The more you repeat it in your mind as you breathe consciously, the more you'll clear out all the distracted thoughts. Inhale, slowly rise. Lift your heels. Get up onto the ball mounds of your feet. Stay high on the ball mounds. Breathe in. Exhale, bend your knees. As you sit low, watch the pelvis from either swinging back or hooking under. Play with both angles, pouring water forward, pouring water back. Which position makes you feel tallest? It's most spacious in the lower spine. Inhale, slowly rise. Hover your heels just an inch off the mat. Turn your feet in. Zip your knees and your thighs together. Breathe in. Exhale, start to sit. As you start to sit, hover your thighs above your calves. Avoid resting into your legs. Squeeze the thighs, plug the thigh bones back, sit up nice and tall. Breathe in. Reach forward with the arms, lean your upper body back, breathe out. Controlled ascent. Inhale, slowly rise. Exhale, release your arms down by your sides. Slide your feet together. Inhale, mountain pose, reach up. Exhale, eagle wrap, right arm underneath left arm. Cross at your elbows, maybe again at the wrists, or just give yourself a hug. Bend your knees, sit down and back. Lift up onto the right big toe. Feel the connection down to the left foot. Play with the angle of the pelvis, scooping tailbone under, swinging tailbone back. Then slowly loop your right thigh over your left thigh. Hook your toes around the calf. As you firm the thighs together, press into your heels. That'll engage your glutes. Then squeeze your thighs and inner groins. Lift your elbows up in line with your shoulders. Draw the shoulders down and then compress the elbows into the chest. Sit low to your legs. Breathe in. Steady your gaze, steady your mantra, steady your breath. Inhale, straighten your left leg, lift up your right knee. Exhale, eagle armed airplane pose. Kick your right leg down. Now lock your body from your right heel to the top of your head. Brace your core, start to lever up your right leg behind you. This should counter-lever the pelvis and spine forward and down. Let the hips turn slightly to the right as you come down. When you hit parallel, roll your left hip back, close the right hip to the mat. Take your left hand to your lower back. Does that feel long? Does it feel rounded? Can you find a little more length in the lumbar spine? Hands together, prayer grip, reach forward, standing stick. As you reach forward, pull through the fingers. Push through your heels. Breathe and sense the pelvis and the lower back. Inhale, rise all the way to standing. Immediately exhale, eagle wrap, left arm underneath the right. Bend your knees, sit down and back. Lift up onto your left big toe. Feel your right foot, inhale. Loop your left thigh over your right thigh. Squeeze your thighs together. Lift your spine. Breathe in. Elbows up, then exhale, shoulders down, elbows compress the chest. Play with the angle of the pelvis. The relationship to your hips is like a tuning dial that helps you become more aware through your spine and more sensitive to your feet. Inhale, straighten your right leg, lift up your left knee. Exhale, eagle armed airplane pose. Kick your left leg down, lock your body from heel to head. Lever your left leg back and up to counter-lever your pelvis and your spine forward and down. Let the hips turn to the left a little. As you arrive at parallel, roll the right hip back, closing the left hip down. Put one hand on your lower back, sense the feeling. Are you curved? Is there a little bit of space there? Then hands together, reach forward, standing stick. Drive down through your heels. Reach forward through your fingertips. Feel your lower back. Inhale, rise all the way to standing. Exhale, release your arms down by your sides. The angle of the pelvis will influence the length of the spine. So the more you play with the hips, the more you start to touch the source of how the spine is being held and how the spine moves. So just keep exploring, keep experimenting. Bring your feet together. Inhale, lift your right knee in line with your right hip. Flex your right toes back against your shin. The moment you lifted the leg, notice if the buttocks curled under. Take that right thigh, pull it back into the right hip, and that's going to help re-engage the lumbar curve. By using the thigh pulling in, using the right hip flexor, we rearrange the angle of the pelvis. That should feel good on the low back. Stay here. You could just work and explore, or breathe in, round and curl. Lift the ribs, round the spine up and over. Take a hold of your right leg. Breathe here. Feel the length in the lower back. You push with the leg and pull with the hands. Stay here or lift your spine first. Re-engage that long spine from heel to pelvis to low back. Then kick your right leg forward and up. Pull the heel higher than the belly to compensate for the distance between the arms being much shorter than the distance of the right leg. Pull the shoulders back and down. Stay or round and curl. Hook your elbows around your right calf. Lift your rib cage forward. Like your ribs are an inchworm, crawl them towards your right toes. Inhale, rise. If you need a moment, right foot down, shake out that left. Mountain pose. Right elbow, right side waist. Bend your right knee. Grab the inside arch of your right foot. As you take your grab, feel the pelvis. We want the pelvis to move. If it doesn't, we'll end up really heavy in the back bend and a light compression in the lower spine. Breathe in. Exhale, tilt your pelvis so the right knee and the left fingers move at the same rhythm and speed. Gaze out in front of you, something small, something not moving. Pull up with the right hand. Push down through the left leg. Breathe. Inhale, rise, feet together. Exhale, arms come down by your sides. Lift your left knee in line with your left hip. Maybe hold the hips, you can dial. Pelvis tilts back, pelvis tilts forward. Stand up nice and tall, breathe in. Exhale, round and curl. Take a hold of the left leg. Focus on the feeling of the hips. Does the pelvis want to scoop under or pull back? What feels right to you? Solidify that right foot to the mat. Next layer, lift your spine. Head over shoulders over hips first. Focus on the length of the spine, and then the left leg is secondary. The left leg might not go all the way straight. To straighten it, if it pulls your shoulders and your spine out of place, then let that go for now. As long as you feel the stretch on the hamstring and the length of the low back, you're in a good place. Breathe in. Stay or round and curl. Take the rib cage like an inchworm. Crawl it over your left thigh. Breathe. Inhale, slowly rise. Left foot down if you need a moment. Right arm to the sky. Left elbow, left side waist. Bend your left knee back. Grab the inside arch of your left foot. Feel the right foot, breathe in. Exhale, standing bow pulling pose. Tilt your pelvis. The pelvic tilt allows the left leg and the spine to move at the same rhythm and speed. Roll the right hip back. Close your left hip down. Then brace your core. Protect your lower spine. Steady your gaze. Steady your breath. Inhale, slowly rise. Let's do standing bow each side, arms up. Exhale, right elbow, right side waist. Bend your right knee, grab the inside arch of the foot. When you're ready, inhale, standing bow, tilt your pelvis. Take it slow. First, from week one, first part of the series, you feel the 4 points of the left foot. Then you feel the left hip stability. Then you notice the angle of the pelvis and whether that's giving you space or compression in the lower back. Breathe. What do you feel? Where do your thoughts go? Inhale, slowly rise. Feet together. Exhale, left elbow, left sideways. Bend your left knee. Grab the inside arch of your left foot. When you're ready, standing bow. Tilt your hips. Reach through your right fingers. Feel the ground. Feel the right hip stability. Roll your right hip back, closing the left hip towards the mat. Inhale, slowly rise. Feet together, arms go up. Exhale, hands to prayer. Let's get to the mat. Inhale, reach up. Grab your bar. Exhale, pull down, brace your core. Inhale, back bend. In the exhale, adjust the angle of the pelvis. How does that feel? Inhale, up mountain. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift, lengthen. Exhale, high plank pose. Hands down, step your feet back. In high plank, play with the angle of the pelvis. Put a soft bend in the knees. It's like you're in a hovering tabletop. Work that action of the pelvis like you're doing cat-cow. And then slowly go about halfway back to down dog. As you're halfway back to down dog, do you still have the ability to move the pelvis or does it get stuck? Notice how that feels in the lower back. Then go to what your expression of down dog you feel is. But notice, if you get to down dog and you can no longer mobilize your pelvis, most likely you're a little too far, which means your hamstrings are blocking your pelvis from moving. So if you get stuck, bend those knees a little, pull your thigh bones up and in. Define down dog from a place where you have the space to go deeper or to pull back a little. Inhale, float your right leg high. Exhale, step through low lunge. Pin your back heel down. Inhale, warrior two. So as you press into your outer heels, engage your glutes. That'll move the tailbone under. If that causes the back to round, then tilt the pelvis forward. Play with that action of the hips. Notice the feeling of the lower spine. Take a breath in. Exhale, extended side angle. Take the right forearm, push down into the right thigh. Now we were working forward and backward tilt of the hips. Now we're working gyration of the pelvis. The right thigh pulls back into the right hip. The left hip, it lifts and rolls slightly forward. Why? As it rotates, you should be able to accommodate the length of the spine from the top of the head all the way down through the pelvis and then all the way through the left heel. Reach your right hand between your right big and second toe. Tee your left arm out in line with your left shoulder. From the side view, the body should appear like a human cross leaning at a diagonal. Inhale, reverse warrior. Elevate your arms. Left hand pushes on the right hand. Pull up, touch the ceiling, then go over to the left. Full breath in. Exhale, warrior two. Inhale, star pose, toes out. Exhale, horse. As you get into your horse pose, get nice and low, hands to thighs. Spin the fingers in, drop your elbows wide. Now, when you go into your twist, if you look at my spine, if my glutes are tucked under, my back is rounding. And if my tailbone's way too far back, I'm in a back bend. So play with the action of the pelvis. Can you find the length of the lower back? And then keep the top of the head reaching straight away from that. Breathe in. Exhale, twist to the right. Dip the left shoulder down. Turn your gaze towards your right shoulder. Play with the action of the hips. See if you can release a little more space in the spine. Inhale, center. Exhale, twist to the left. There's never a need to force the twist. You just keep exploring and examining how the length of the spine can allow for a deeper rotation. Inhale, center. Exhale, twist. Inhale, center. Exhale, twist. Inhale, center, star pose, bring it up. Parallel your feet. You can step the feet nice and wide. Tee out your arms or hold your waist. Turn your big toes slightly inwards so that the knees point in line with the middle toes. Now, bend the knees, pull your heels away from each other. Feel those outer glutes turn on. Exhale, tilt your pelvis forward, wide-legged straddled forward fold. So as you tilt the hips, your spine can remain long. If the hips didn't tilt, then your back's going to round pretty prematurely. Bend the knees, tilt your pelvis. Think of the action of the hips, pour water forward onto the toes, and then grab for the outside edges of the feet. Pull. As you pull, lift the back of your heart. So there's all these opposing actions. The heels pulling apart engages the glutes. The big toes pressing down engages the inner groins. The hands pulling tries to make the spine come down, but you oppose that with a lift in the back. It feels like there's sometimes a war happening in the body, but really what we're looking for is to engage every muscle just a little so that we never overbear into any position and we can feel the length of the spine and the quality of the breath produced from that length fully in. Empty out. Fully in. Empty out. Now either tee out your arms or hold your hips, but imagine tilting the pelvis to the upright position. Inhale, let the spine follow that. And then shorten the stance. About the width of the mat, about 3 feet. Pivot to face forward towards your right foot. Right toes point straight forward. Back toes turn forward and out to the left. Seal down the skin of the right foot. Take the arms, reach up. Palms together, prayer grip. Hook your thumbs. Pull up. Bend your right knee. Exhale, tilt your pelvis forward. Let the tilting action of the hips allow the spine to stay long. Keep reaching all the way through your fingertips. At the bottom, hands go to either side of the foot. Now, imagine the rib cage, just like that caterpillar or inchworm. Crawl it down your right thigh. Undulate the spine up and down a few times. Look for the length, especially in the lower back. Then firm into your heels. Draw your shoulders back from your ears. Most of all, breathe full and empty. Coming back to your mantra, what's that one word that you're invoking? We give it the voice inside the mind. That invocation reminds us of the light that exists within ourselves. We have the ability to conjure any feeling, any emotion, any thought if we only look inside. Bring your palms together. Push down into your right foot. Think of the tilting action of the hips. Use your spine muscles to lift. Exhale, release your hands behind your back. Palms together flat, interlace. Lift your back foot off the mat. Breathe in. Exhale, tilt your pelvis. Lever up your left leg to tilt your hips down and forward. Roll your right hip back. Send the top of the head forward. Breathe in. Exhale, standing split. Kind of like the two-footed variation we did moments ago. Bend your front knee. Walk your rib cage down your right leg. Aim your head down towards your toes. Now push your hands down and forward. Drag your right heel back in opposition. Feel that hamstring staying engaged. Then slowly use your left butt. Lift your lifted knee. Straighten both your legs. Breathe in. Exhale, step back, low lunge. Hands go flush to the mat. Inhale, down dog kick. Bend your knee, circle open your hip. Exhale, downward facing dog. One breath to bend the knees, to work the thigh bones back, to adjust the angle of the pelvis. We're reintroducing some actions in down dog and noticing if they create a different effect. Inhale, float your left leg high. Exhale, step between your thumbs. Back heel down. Inhale, warrior two. Investigate the action of the hips. Tailbone sweeps under, tailbone pulls back. How does that feel relative to your low back? Where's that middle place? Give yourself every opportunity to explore. Breathe in. Exhale, extended side angle. Left forearm starts on the top of the left thigh. You push down. Push the thigh up. That's going to engage the left hip flexor to move the left thigh bone in. Then rather than the hips pushing back, think of the right hip lifting and rolling slightly forward. Too much and you'll end up twisting the spine. Just enough and you'll find the diagonal line from the heel to the pelvis, through the spine, through the top of the head. Then tee out the arms. The spine takes a diagonal, and so to that degree, the arms take the exact perpendicular diagonal at 90 degrees. Breathe in. Stay for the exhale. Inhale, reverse warrior. Level your hips. Right hand pushes up on the left hand. Think of taking the ceiling, sliding it up and to the right. Full body breath in. Exhale, warrior two. Inhale, star pose. Toes out, heels in. Exhale, horse, bend your knees. Let's just go start a horse. Inhale, rise. Can you think about the hips? Exhale, sit. Does your pelvis start to swing? Inhale, rise. As you go into these wide squats, notice if the pelvis is hooking back. Inhale. Or if the pelvis is hooking under. As you rise, try to keep the pelvis at neutral, so the spine feels like it's just riding an elevator of the legs. Sit. One more. Fully in. Exhale, sit. Inhale up. Parallel your feet. Take your hands behind your back, palms together flat. Interlace your fingers, point your big toes slightly in. Roll your shoulders and your chest open. Inhale. Pull your heels away from each other. Exhale, tilt your pelvis forward. Let the pelvic tilt facilitate the spine's length into the depth of this wide-legged straddle, chest expanding forward fold. Lift the back of your heart. 3 breaths. If you want to play, go for it. You can grab big toes, you can grab the calves, but play with the angle of your pelvis and how it creates room for your spine. Then breathe full to empty. Tee out your arms in line with your shoulders. Inhale, rise. Palms together up above your head. Hook your thumbs. Pivot to face forward to the left. Right toes point to the right and slightly forward. Shorten the stance to 3 feet. Push down into your feet. Pull up on your arms. Keep your arms nice and engaged. Breathe in. Exhale, bend your left knee, tilt your pelvis. The pelvic tilt will allow the spine to remain long. You keep reaching the arms forward to help that length, and then split your hands to either side of the left foot. Soften through your toes, push into your heels. With your hands, ground into the mat, and then crawl the rib cage down, just like a caterpillar kind of undulates up and down. Then bring the forehead towards the left shin. Move your shoulders back from your ears. Push your hands down and forward in opposition. Squeeze your left leg back. Then flex your legs towards straight. Breathe in. Stay for the exhale. Grab your palms together in front of your left big toe. Push down and pull up with your arms. Exhale, release your hands behind your back. Palms go together flat. Interlace, open your chest. Lift your back foot off the mat. Lock your body from heel to head. Then exhale, tilt your hips. It's the pelvic tilt that allows the body to act like a balancing scale or a seesaw. Hands come down to the mat, standing split. As the hands go down, wiggle your rib cage lower and lower towards the left foot. Press your hands down and forward. Flex your right butt to lift your right knee. Pull your left heel back, then straighten both your legs. Breathe in. Step back, low lunge. Hands go flat. Inhale, down dog kick. Bend your left knee, open your hips, circle it around. And then exhale, downward facing dog. Breath to movement, first 3 postures. Close your eyes, try to feel this out. Can you feel the angle of your pelvis and its relativity to the sensation of your lower spine and your connection to the ground? Breathe in. Empty the breath. With your mantra, inhale. With your mantra, exhale. Let's flow. Inhale, right leg high. Exhale, low lunge. Warrior 2, full breath. Extended side angle, feel the length of the spine. Inhale, reverse, feel the space of the breath. Exhale, low lunge or high to low plank, taking a chaturanga. Inhale, down dog kick or upward facing dog. If you're in up dog, little contraction in the glutes, feel the tailbone move under. Arrange the angle of the pelvis so that you can find freedom in the spine. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, left leg high. Exhale, between your thumbs. Inhale, warrior two, ground and rise. Exhale, extended side angle. Inhale, reverse. Exhale, sweep down to the mat, high to low plank or just low lunge. Down dog kick, bend the knee open hip or upward facing dog, adjust the angle of the pelvis. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, bend both knees. Exhale, travel forward. Halfway lift, full breath. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, mountain pose. Let's take it up. Exhale, hands to prayer, heart center. Inhale, lift up your right knee. Circle your right knee around for tree. So we do this variation first just to kind of loosen up the right hip and then notice the angle of the pelvis. So when you're doing tree pose, lift up the right knee. Watch the right hip from hiking up higher than the left hip. Can you keep that right hip down and then squeeze your right foot into your left leg? As you squeeze the foot to leg, notice if the tailbone hooks under. Play with the angle of the pelvis. How do you know when your alignment is correct? Well, it's not just the aesthetic, it should be a feeling, a sense of engaged effortlessness. I know that sounds like a paradox, but it's just enough energy to get spacious, relaxed enough that we don't congest into the pose, that we're not overstressing or trying too hard. You can take the right foot into hot style tree as long as your right ankle, right knee, right hip are all okay with that. Hands to prayer. Play the angle of the pelvis. Slowly release the right foot down. Other side, left knee comes up. Watch the left hip from hiking up. Level the hips, both left and right and forward and back. Then circle the left knee around. Open the left knee to the side, squeeze your foot into your leg. Same idea. Is the hip hiking up on the left side? Is it tilting forward? Play with the forward-backward tilt and the side-to-side tilt. When does that feel right for your lower back? When do you feel most connected to your right foot? Then pick up the left foot, hot style tree. Take the pinky blade up into your right hip crease. Point the toes. Push the pinky blade into your hip so the left knee turns down. Same thing. Did that cause an action in the pelvis to tilt side to side or forward back? Then take one hand or both hands to the prayer. Steady your breath. Release your left foot down. Inhale, mountain pose. Let's bring it up. Exhale, grab your bar, pull down, brace your core. Inhale, back bend. Lift your upper body back. Root into the heels and bring your tailbone under. Inhale up. Exhale, forward fold. Tilt your pelvis. Inhale, halfway lift, lengthen. Exhale, crouch, round, and curl all the way down onto your back. And then Baddha Konasana. Once you're on your back, feet together, knees go wide. Fingertips back behind the earlobes, elbows wide, breathe in. Exhale, lift your shoulders, lift your chest. Inhale, lower. Exhale, lift. Inhale, lower. Exhale, lift. Go at your rhythm, go at your speed. Notice if the arms are doing any of the heavy lifting. Try to float the arms. Maintain the length of your head, neck, and spine. Focus on the exhalations as you rise to the top, squeezing the 4 points from the rib cage to the hips into your navel. Then seal your lower back to the mat. Last 4, 3, 2, 1. Slowly lower down to your back. Draw your knees into your chest. Circle your knees towards one another, then away from each other. Kick your left leg forward, send your right leg into the sky. Palms together above your chest, squeeze your hands, hook your thumbs. Exhale, lift your shoulders, lift your chest off the mat, reach over to the right. One, you can stay. Take little pulses here. This is really going to fire those right obliques. Or two, add a little bit of instability. Take the right leg, kick to the left. Roll so that you're just on the left buttock. You're sitting on the left hip and reaching the arms to the right. This cross-lateral movement is really good in engaging those obliques. Now pulse, feel the shoulders, feel the neck. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 and done. Other side, right leg long, left leg up. Palms together, lift your rib cage off the mat. Kick your left toes to the right. Roll onto the right buttock, reach your arms to the left. Find the length in your spine and pulse, 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 pulse. Exhale, exhale. 4, 3, 2, 1. Down onto your back. Pull the knees nice and wide. Anchor your tailbone to the mat. So we just rock a little, not the shoulders, just the thighs. Rock them forward, rock them back. Notice when you're playing this kind of subtle variation of happy baby, as the knees go forward, your buttocks will firm to the mat, and there's your lower back. When the knees pull in, the tailbone will lift. You lose the lower back space, and so you just start to notice this. Okay, knees together, grab behind the thighs, rock the length of your spine. All the way up into Malasana, frog squat. Separate your feet nice and wide. Now you can stay in frog, but notice if you're in frog and you're sitting low, your tailbone's going to hook under and your low back will round like mine. Can you instead bring the elbows on top of the thighs, push the elbows down and swing the tailbone back? Think of pouring water forward in the hips so that you feel the length of the lower spine. Sitting nice and tall, breathe in. Stay or flying frog if you want the inversion challenge. Hands come to the mat. Squeeze your thighs against your upper outer arms. Turn your hands so that your index fingers point straight forward and so that your elbows are also right on top of the wrists. Then bend your elbows, let your shoulders come forward until your toes get light. Watch those elbows from splitting wide. That's going to stress the wrists. Squeeze your hands towards each other. Let the shoulders come forward, then pull them back and feel the neck get long. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, right leg high. Exhale, half pigeon pose. Right knee outside your right wrist, right ankle towards your left hip. Now, if you're feeling like you need a moment, come into sleeping pigeon. It's all good. Take the elbows wide, rest your forehead to the mat. If you want to work the action of the hip flexor for your back bends, stay lifted. Lean just a little forward to decompress the lower spine. Brace front ribs, hip points into navel. Then push down with your legs. Put a light contraction of your glutes, moving your tailbone under. Lift your upper body back. Kick evenly into your back toenails from big to pinky. Then brace your core. Breathe. By contracting the glutes, it will help to open the left hip flexors. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, left leg high. Exhale, half pigeon. Left knee towards the left wrist. Left ankle towards the right hip. Untuck your back toes. Get on the top of the toenails. Press down into your legs. Roll the weight from big to pinky. If you did sleeping pigeon, you can do it on this side. But in sleeping pigeon, let the shoulders, head, and neck sleep. Keep the hips awake. To do that, whatever's touching the mat, you push down in the lower body. That's the left shin and the top of the right leg. Squeeze your legs towards each other. If you're upright, contract your glutes. Bring the tailbone under. Lift your chest. Search for the feeling in the front of the right pelvis, the hip flexors. Give them some breath. Give them some open space. Exhale, downward facing dog. Walk it out. Inhale, slide forward, high plank. Exhale, lower all the way down to your belly. Hands underneath your shoulders, low cobra pose. Inhale, lift your heart, lift your chest. Gaze down, lift the back of the head and neck. Now contract your buttocks as if you're humping the mat. Press your pubic bone down. That's going to help to bring the tailbone under so the frontal hip points lift, and that should allow you to access a little more height in the spine. Breathe in. Exhale, release. Look to one side. Take your arms down by your sides. Flip your palms to face down, wiggle your hips, and slide your arms underneath the center of your body. So close the pinkies touch, maybe the elbows touch, or just as close as you can. Then seal your hands to the mat, center your chin. If this doesn't feel good for the neck, you can bring the chin down and kiss your mat. Exhale, lift your right leg up. Push the hip bone down into the forearm, and then point through your toes. Lengthen through your spine, breathe in. Exhale, release. Inhale, left leg up. Push the hip bone down, point through your toes. Lengthen, inhale. Exhale, release. To protect your neck, seal your lips. If you're very cautious of your neck, you can keep the chin forward to open the throat. Just pay attention to any compression in the back of the neck. No force to this. Take it slow. What do you feel? Breathe in. Exhale, both legs lift. Push into your hands. Lean into the shoulders and chest. Now, bend your knees. If it feels okay, use your lower back strength to try lifting the pelvis off of your forearms. Breathe in. Exhale, slowly release. Take your arms out from underneath. Look to the opposite side. Pump your hands in a fist. Roll your wrists around. Center your chin. We take the next two poses and bridge them together. Bound locust into full floor bow. Hook your thumbs behind your back. Roll your shoulders and your chest open. Lift the back of your head. Lengthen your head forward. Inhale, lift your chest, lift your legs. Press the pubic bone down. See if you can bring the tailbone under and the frontal hip points to lift so that the chest lifts. Breathe in. Bend your knees, squeeze heel to butt, reach back, capture the blades of the feet. Put a light kick in your legs, roll your shoulders against the kick, firming up your chest. Feel your lower back and your breath. Feels okay? Kick. Breathe. Slowly release. Look to one side. Crisscross your legs. Maybe circle the shins, circle the feet. And then lower your legs to the mat. Big toes touch, heels drop apart. Switch sides with your gaze. Stretch the other side of the neck. Now exaggerate this rotation in the thighs by putting the outer foot and the outer shin bones into the ground. Then lightly pull your feet away from each other. Wiggle the hips. Feel the lower back. Breathe. Breathe so deep you feel your lower back open. Experience the exhale and melt into the mat. Hands under shoulders. Inhale, rise. Come to standing on your knees. Separate your ankles just wide enough to fit your hips. Knees together. Breathe in. Exhale, start to sit. It's a start to. If you go too quickly and you end up rounding forward, then you're going to throw off your pelvis and your lower back. There's no degree that you have to sit, but you want to have the ability at any time to lift. Never overcommitting, because if you get so far you can't lift, it means your quadriceps have shut down, they're beyond their optimal range of movement, and now you're starting to stress the knees. If this feels okay, no matter where you are, kick into your shins. If you need, you lean a little bit forward and use your hands for support. If it feels okay to go backwards, hands come to feet. Lower the elbows simultaneously down to avoid twisting the spine. Then lightly walk the elbows forward and counter drag your shoulders and your spine backwards. Then lower the back of your head and your shoulders to the mat. When you're laying down, kick into your shins so that your quads still remain on. Use the quads to lift the hips a little, then scoop the tailbone under That will allow you to drop the front ribs down, and now you should feel a lot of happy space in the lower back. Take the arms, reach back. Breathe, full to empty. Use your mantra. Walk your hands to your feet. Slowly rise up onto your elbows. Then walk your hands back, downward facing dog. Pedal out your legs. This is your last opportunity in downward facing dog to play with the angle of the pelvis. So bend those knees, pull the thigh bones up and in, swing the tailbone up and back. Breathe in. Exhale, have a seat. Knees together, have a seat on the tops of the heels. Arms go up. Palm squeeze, hook your thumbs, pull up. Exhale, tilt your pelvis. Pull with your arms. Can you keep the length of your spine as you bow? Hover your forehead and your pinky blades just a little bit off the mat. And then rest them down simultaneously. Sit your buttocks against your heels. Push the pinky side edges of your hands down, lightly pull back. As you pull back, can you shimmy the rib cage like that caterpillar now crawling towards the front of the mat? Always searching for space. Every pose is just a shape. Not until we fill it with breath that it induces the yogic state. The way you breathe is the way you're practicing. Can it be slow, strong yet gentle? Hover your head, hover your hands. Inhale, slowly rise. Come to standing on your knees. Separate the knees hip distance. Hands to hips. Kick down to the tops of the feet. Contract your glutes, bring the tailbone under. Take your arms, reach up and slightly forward. Then exhale like you're pulling open two heavy doors. Pull those doors open. Try to lift your chest through the doors. And then contract your buttocks, bring the tailbone under. Brace your core, start to lift your upper body back. Yearn your head in a line away from the hips. Play with the action of the pelvis. Feel the sensations in the lower spine. If it feels appropriate, gently lower your hands to your heels, but rather than resting weight down, grab those heels and pull up. In opposition, kick with your legs and breathe into your chest. Hover the hands, inhale, slowly rise. Knees together, heels together, sit back. If you wear your ponytail or a top knot, loosen it up, move it back. Make sure there's nothing on the top of your head. This is where we want to rest the head on the mat. Center your gaze. Hook your thumbs on the outsides of the ankles. Tuck your chin deep into your chest. Glue your forehead to your knees, then lift your hips until the top of the head is on the ground. If your forehead is on the ground, tuck your chin tighter in. Now, either way, kick your shins lightly into the mat. You'll feel the head get light. Pull your shoulders back from your ears and then push your head into the ground. Now breathe full to empty. Have a seat on the mat. Sweep your legs out in front of you. Do you want to come down? Come on down. Right leg out to the side, left foot up against the inner right thigh. Bend your right knee. Take your arms, reach up. Square your chest to the right. Left thumb goes down. Grab the pinky side edge of your right foot. Turn your belly, turn your ribs and chest, and then bow. Crawl your rib cage forward on that right thigh, then bring the forehead outside the right shin. Press the outer left foot down and feel the left hip drop. Breathe into the left side of the lower back. Inhale, rise, switch sides. Left leg out to the side, right foot in. Bend your left knee, arms go up. Square off against your left leg. Exhale, tilt your hips, bow. Right thumb down, grab the pinky side edge. Left hand can be forward. Crawl your rib cage forward. Then firm the right hip down. Feel the length on the right side of the lower back. Bring the forehead to the outside of your left shin. Breathe. Try to breathe into that right side of the lower spine, especially if you're sitting a lot. The QL is the muscles that attach to the back of your spine and then down to the top of your hips. They can get really stretched and stressed. And so this should feel so good just to fill them with breath. Inhale, slowly rise. Legs go out in front. Bend the knees a little. Take your arms up. Push into your heels. Remember, it's the action of the hips. If you're starting off and the pelvis is tilted back, then you're not going to get very far into your fold. Bend your knees generously. Then think of the pelvis. Exhale, tilt your pelvis forward. Wiggle the hips back. Tilt the pelvis forward. Wiggle the hips back. Tilt the pelvis forward. Wiggle the hips back. Think of the spine. Inchworm, caterpillar, down your legs. Reach the arms forward. Maybe fingertips go to the mat or grab your feet. But when you grab, pull, not to go up or down, pull to go forward. Close your eyes. Tilt the chin down. Pull to one day take your head and reach it past your feet, as if you could bring your toes up into your ears. Now breathe. Inhale, slowly rise. Scooch forward. Come all the way down onto your back. Hold your right knee into your right armpit. Extend your left leg long on the mat. Flex your left toes back. Breathe in. And exhale, supine twist. Lift your hips. Use the left heel on the ground. Lift the hips and then rotate your right hip on top of your left. Anchor your shoulders to the mat. Look to the right. Focus on the shoulder blades getting heavy so that the chest can be spacious. Fill the body with breath in. Empty it out. Let's come back to center. Other side. Left knee pulls in. Right leg goes long. Inhale. Exhale, twist. Use the right heel. Use it to help you lift your hips. And then stack your left hip over your right hip. Center the pelvis at the middle mat. Wiggle your shoulder so the shoulder blades can be flat. Turn your head to the left. Breathe into the open space of the chest. Come back to center. Hug your knees towards your armpits. Avoid compression into the belly ribs. Remember what you learned before when we were laying down. Move the knees forward and back until you feel the length in your lower back. Now, holding that length in your lower back in your mind, grab for the outer sides of the feet, the shins, or the calves. If you're quick to grab the feet, you may have missed if the lower back rounded or not, so take your time. Remembering half the practice lies in the transitional actions that you're intentionally doing, and the other half lies in the unconscious reactions that you might not notice. Yogic practice is not a physical one, but an energetic, mental one of awareness. And when we allow our awareness to feel the movements of the body and the breath, then the physical practice takes shape. But it starts from that deeper space inside the thoughts, inside the feelings. The physical shape is just that, a physical outer shell. Knees together, wrap your forearms around your legs, squeeze your forehead to your knees, take a deep breath in, and then exhale, final Shavasana. Let your legs drift out. Wiggle the hips around a couple times. Playing with the angle of the pelvis. If you wear your hair tied in a ponytail or a bun, make sure you remove the hair bands. And then massage your scalp. Massage your temples. Open and close your jaw. We switch gears from active actions to simply fading, falling, and releasing into the mat. Then ultimately take your arms down by your sides. Full body inhale. Empty the breath out. Take some time in Shavasana to fully let go. There is a beautiful duality of the human experience. Part of us wants to expand and grow and be larger than life, and the other part wants to stay safe and protected. We are divine infinite beings encased in a temporary shell of a physical body. The physical body is the only thing that really needs protection. The mind, the awareness, can be cleansed and purified. Without the safety of the physical body, we can no longer experience life. So laying down in Shavasana or sitting tall, take a moment to close your eyes. This duality of infinite and finite, of the immortal soul and the temporary physical body, of light and dark, of contraction and expansion. Duality engulfs everything we experience throughout our lives. The yogic practice helps us to draw awareness to our physical nature, to really feel the authentic sensations in our body. We feel the body. We engage the body so we can let it go. The feeling of the body is just a happening in your mind. Your body comes from the earth. After you're born, your body is made of the food that you eat, translated by the cells in your system to sustain who you are. The body comes from the earth, so for a moment, let it return to the earth. Let your eyes soften, your jaw soften. The spine is an antenna that connects the intelligence of the brain. Through the nervous system, it reaches all the way to your toes and fingers, to your internal organs, and everything in between. Every physical action is in its essence an action of the nervous system. And so by letting go of the physical body, we also release the stress off of our nerves. And the center of the brain that's responsible for movement becomes quiet. Not only relax your eyes, but release the intention to see. And the center of the brain responsible for vision becomes quiet. Relax your tongue and your jaw. Surrender the intention to speak. And the center of the brain responsible for speech becomes quiet. Keep letting go. Keep letting go. Keep letting go. Physical release, to release the nervous system. For when we're moving throughout the day, the mind can be like a storm, electrical thunder and lightning flashing through, moving your body, allowing you to pick up sights, sounds, to speak back into the world. When you release speech, vision, movement, touch, and hearing, the electrical storm of the mind becomes calm. Yet we don't disappear. Instead of the experience getting smaller, the polar opposite happens. Awareness expands. As the body gets heavy, the soul gets light. The body made from the earth. Return it to the earth for some time. Yet your awareness is pure light. Return it to the light. Experience both sides of this dualistic nature to help understand the middle. When we're consciously awake, moving throughout the day, remembering these two sides, the earthly temporary body and the divine light that exists inside. Or in the Vedas, a saying, Manmiram Hatmikam. It means keep the mind in the light as the body lives in the world. Too much to one side, we can be dull. Too heavy in the body, we seek sense pleasures, foods, sex. Too much in the light, we feel we don't need to be in our body. We do the opposite, not craving food, just walking in ecstasy of awareness. Neither is right nor wrong, only intentional or not. If you are to work and live in the world and be with the people in the world, then it's beneficial to be grounded in the world. But if you are to be a light to help others, then you must also remember the light that exists within, or the darkness that shrouds the world can cave into your awareness and place you in a space of isolation, of sadness. So remembering the duality of life, the earthly body and the heavenly soul. So may your practice remind you of this light, yet keep you grounded, that you might be accessible. In this way, we all become the bridge between the earth and heaven. It's just a shift of your awareness to notice. Let the storm subside, and in the clear space, you are what exists when all else fades away. Yogis call it Sat, truth, Chit, consciousness, and Ananda, bliss. For the truth is, we are not our bodies. We maintain them for some time. We are pure consciousness, not as an intellectual, philosophical idea, but when you experience a pure state of awareness, all there is infinite bliss. I hope your practice takes you there. Namaste. Thank you so much for watching this video. My name's Alex Artemiak. Please take a moment, like, subscribe, share this video with someone who might benefit from it. This practice has such a profound way of opening our hearts, of clearing our minds, and letting us return back to the light that exists within. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Please share this beauty and share your beauty with the world.